Hello, and thank you for listening today. I'm Ann Cosgrove, Editor-in-Chief of Facility Executive Magazine, and this Facility Executive podcast will focus on an important topic for facility management leaders and your teams, cleaning for healthier facilities. Of course, before COVID-19 impacted our world, cleaning protocols for occupant health was at the forefront for facilities teams across all industry sectors, commercial office, education, government, and hospitality, to name a few. And since the pandemic hit, these concerns have shot to the top of the list with facilities leaders like you, evaluating every aspect of cleaning programs, whether for your in-house teams or cleaning contractors. So today I'm glad to be speaking with Dennis Hackemeyer. He's the co-founder of NanoTouch Materials, LLC, makers of NanoSeptic self-cleaning services, which are being used in facilities throughout the U.S. and globally to create cleaner, healthier environments. Based out of Virginia, NanoTouch Materials introduced NanoSeptic self-cleaning services to market to help transform dirty, high-traffic touchpoints into continuously self-cleaning services. So we're looking forward to talking to Dennis today. As the company co-founder, he has a unique combination of experience in advanced print technologies using alternative substrates and Marine Corps training in nuclear, biological, chemical. So it sparked him to ask the question, what if the latest material science could be used to place cleaner surfaces exactly where and when they are needed? So we're looking forward to a talk about that. Just to go into the product a little further to set the stage on NanoSeptic self-cleaning surfaces, 3 years of nanotechnology research, product development, fabrication process, planning, and antimicrobial lab testing led to the successful development of NanoSeptic products, and the company has grown exponentially from their start in 2012, thanks in part to 2 ISSA Innovation Awards and a $2 million R&D grant. NanoSeptic doesn't use heavy metals or poisons, which can build up in landfills and our water supplies, and it's a green approach towards solving a difficult problem that we're all facing today in facilities. So I'm happy to be talking with Dennis today about facilities, cleaning and healthy environments, and what he and his company are seeing in the field over the past year, or past several years, and of course going forward. So we'll jump right in. Hi, Dennis. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, good afternoon, Ann. How are you? It's good to be with you.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks in advance to the facility executive and your property owner and facility management listeners who've chosen to tune into the podcast. It's great.
Great. Look, well, I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you and digging into the topic. So I guess my first question to you is, this spring of 2021 and into the summer, people are returning to all types of buildings, as we know, their office, schools, hospitality, retail facilities. So what do you think facility management teams can do to show building occupants that their buildings are being maintained to provide a cleaner and healthier environment? Folks are, of course, at varying levels of concern about the health and cleanliness of these buildings that they're entering in every day, or even on a visiting basis. So, what do you think the FM teams can do to show their building occupants that they're addressing this?
Yeah, well, I think both property owners, facility managers, commercial cleaners, now with the significant rise in employee and tenant awareness of what clean really means, I think they're going to need to greatly increase their communications on what efforts relative to clean are actually taking place. Traditionally, that may have been via email, but more specifically, when it comes to traditional use of disinfectants, sanitizers, what have you, the property owners and facility managers should really consider increased use of posters, pull-up banners, really any other visual means in addition to standard email, inter-office email, to really better communicate what efforts are underway to achieve this new level of clean. Additionally, when considering, you'll rarely find a corporate sustainability report or annual report that doesn't mention ESG initiatives, environmental social governance initiatives. The significance of the ESG goals really should be considered and included in their plans for reopening, or it's now, I guess, being called the Great Return. So this is one of the reasons we remain so excited at NanoSeptic self-cleaning services, because our products are visible to all the tenants. So facility managers and property owners are really now able to proactively communicate and provide proof of their efforts just by using NanoSeptic without the need for banners and posters. But certainly these other external means of communication are going to be important. And again, we believe NanoSeptic will greatly contribute to the ESG accomplishments when considering the environmental and safety components outlined under ESG.
Okay, thank you. So, and I agree with you. I think we're definitely seeing facilities teams with increasing the communication, of course, about what they're doing to occupants and even to their other stakeholders, as you mentioned, maybe through
Right.
ESG goals or with contractors. So, keeping on that vein of visibility and what facilities teams can do to communicate and make their efforts visible for a healthier environment. Can you talk a little bit about that? Is there any research to indicate just how important this is, or what are you seeing?
Yeah, great question. And actually, the simple answer is yes. There's actually countless surveys from multiple organizations, research organizations, all of which that support this premise of the critical nature of visibility. Let me share a few of them with you, and I probably have 4 or 5, but they're worthy going through. So IFMA, the Foundation Pandemic Manual, I think in keeping with George Mason University, says 75.6% are unclear about what actions they should take to manage the risk, indicating, and I emphasis, the need for workplaces to communicate the actions that are being taken. And another national survey was just released. 87% of Americans say they want proof, actual proof, that workplaces and businesses are following a regular cleaning and sanitization regimen. 9 out of 10 say even after vaccination, they're concerned with cleanliness of businesses they frequent, and they expect these businesses to prioritize cleaning and sanitization. BOMA, in their article on tenant culture and the psychology of the return, is saying that so much of this is about perception, says one property manager. As tenants return, they want to see physical signs that something has changed. And finally, in another article from another source, the rising demand for healthy buildings, 87% of survey respondents experienced increased demand for healthy buildings over the past 12 to 24 months, and 92% expect demand to grow over the next 3 years. So while NanoSeptic self-cleaning services are proven over the past 9 years through multiple testing in multiple labs in multiple countries, really the visible nature of NanoSeptic cannot be understated. And it's this very visibility that we believe will drive proactive and positive tenant perceptions and actual experience, and will contribute greatly to ESG efforts during and long after the so-called Great Return.
Well, thank you for that. And what I do want to talk about your company's offerings in the self-cleaning services, because I want our listeners to understand exactly, what they can do for their facilities. And before we get there, I want to ask you,
Sure.
Something we've been seeing here, of course, to varying degrees, but certainly across the board, facilities teams in all sectors have been examining and often changing their cleaning and disinfection protocols over the past 16 months. So, what have you seen as notable challenges there in your work? I know your products are in many facilities across the U.S. and of course the globe. So, what have you seen in facilities in terms of challenges during this whole process over the past 16 months and learning curve for many and all? And then what are some successes that you've seen in terms of cleanliness and health?
Sure. Well, on the challenges side, we think it's very important to stay in touch with the property owners and facility managers that we have the privilege to work with, to always ask questions and listen and get their feedback. And the thing is that the property managers and facility managers, they already had a full plate prior to the pandemic, just when it came to their everyday tasks and activities. So, make sure the elevators go up and down. Is it cool enough? Is it hot enough? Are the bathrooms and the public areas and common areas clean, and on and on and on. Then the pandemic hit, and these same property owners and facility managers were magically supposed to become experts in the onslaught of chemicals and spray wipes that began to flood the market. So, for one, I think some of the challenges we hear from the property owners and facility managers is really a need for a better understanding of the myriad disinfectants, sanitizers, and the other pesticidal products that have flooded the market that they use in their traditional cleaning protocols. Second, how important the proper preparation, use, and disposal of these cleaning products is really paramount, not only to the safety of the facility management teams themselves, but also to the facility occupants, along with environmental impacts of using these improperly or improper disposal of the chemicals. And I think third, how often cleaning products should be used and during any specific times of the day. I mean, let's be candid. It's simply not possible or practical, as the facility managers know, to clean after every touch or every room. And so again, I think an additional challenge they're going to be facing is with the planning that the property owners and facility management efforts at cleaning, and will those efforts positively contribute to ESG initiatives moving forward? And I think pre-pandemic, a lot of companies mentioned ESG or the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, but I think few companies really had it as part of their culture. And I think we're going to see a big change post-pandemic, and I think that's going to provide new challenges for property owners and facility managers. But then again, it's a great opportunity. On the success side, I'm more specific to NanoTouch, and in keeping with facility managers and property owners, we have over 11,000 clients across the globe in every industry, both commercial, federal government facilities, have put NanoSeptic services in use. And that's everywhere from over 26 pharmaceutical companies, medical schools and surgery centers, to hundreds of colleges and universities, every pro sports league that's out there, every Federal Reserve Bank, the World Bank, USAA, MasterCard, Credit Suisse, to LAX and Dallas-Fort Worth on the airport side, to the top hotel chains, and certainly the real estate service providers, the CBRE, JLL, Cushman & Wakefield, Brookfield Properties, and the list goes on and on and on, along with military organizations like the Navy, the Department of Defense, and federal, state, and local government. So the products out there, these organizations have put NanoSeptic in use to not only work in between cleanings in a toxin-free and environmentally safe manner, but they've kind of clearly understood how very powerful the visibility of a product like NanoSeptic has been to positively move the needle on tenant perceptions, employee expectations, and overall occupant experience. So from a success side, I think they've seen that. And it's really important, at least to us, to note that these successes are, they're not solely NanoSeptic successes, but they're rather the successes on part of thousands of property owners and facility managers who chose to deliver a new and innovative technology versus toxin approach to clean. I mean, think about it, and together, between our organization working with these property owners and facility managers, we have converted nearly 10 million hotspots to self-cleaning services. And from our standpoint, that's something that we're very proud of, and we would deem as a success. And then beyond the challenges and successes that you had mentioned, and I think there's tremendous opportunity out there. I mean, if we take pause and think about it, what's truly exciting as we all face this, again, great return, is really the ability for property owners and facility managers to not only meet the challenges we just discussed or enjoy some of the successes we just referenced, but the opportunity to do so while they can currently contribute to the really untapped ESG goals of their organizations by using NanoSeptic. That's something that's very exciting, and I think is a tremendous opportunity moving forward beyond the traditional clean think, if you will.
Okay, thank you for that. Thanks for sharing, your company's experience and your insight there. And two of the things you mentioned, I want to kind of, grab onto before we dive into actually, kind of explaining how your services work. You mentioned about visibility, of course, very important, and the fact that a self-cleaning surface that's continuous, it helps be effective in between cleanings, because we've heard that many times, certainly during the pandemic time, but of course beforehand. But in between cleaning, how do you track when the last cleaner was in there? I mean, of course, that's a very labor-intensive, time-intensive kind of thing. So to know that there's products in there and a system in place, perhaps like with NanoSeptic, self-cleaning surfaces, having something in there in between cleaning, I think is really important. So I think that's good. So now I'd like to ask you about NanoSeptic self-cleaning services. Can you please explain the technology behind it, the science behind it? You did mention it's non-toxic, so of course that's always important. So can you please just kind of explain, the science behind it, and then also maybe some touch points where your products are used, what the product line entails?
Yeah, let's start there. So in all of your listeners' facilities, they have what we would refer to as high traffic touch points.
Yes.
Door handles, push handles and crash bars, elevator buttons, touch screens, countertops, light switches, urinal flush handles for those that don't have auto flush, bathroom stall knobs, and more. So the NanoSeptic, these are an example of some of the NanoSeptic surfaces, and the way it works is it just really uses light. So when any visible light, incandescent, fluorescent, LED, hits the surface of our NanoSeptic self-cleaning surfaces, it creates a safe oxidation reaction that results in the oxidation of all organic contaminants. Along, I might add, with the residual structure of the contaminants that often remain with the use of traditional disinfectants and sanitizers. So the net of this nanotechnology is it's toxin free, it's always on, 24/7 on the touch points. It, as you mentioned, it works in between regular cleanings, and it really results in a clean multiplier effect, for the folks that choose to use the product. And again, the visible nature of NanoSeptic, we think will provide proof and proactive communications. Think about it. Before the tenant even enters the building, they reach down and they grab the handle to open the door, and they're touching a NanoSeptic wrap. So we believe that will drive positive experience for tenants and employees, while simultaneously establishing really new contributions to property owners and facility managers relative to their ESG efforts that they choose to include as part of that, which we think that they should, certainly.
And so as far as you mentioned a number of high traffic touch points, and I think that's great because we've also, as I'm sure we've seen that the increase in touch-free elevator buttons or knobs and things like that. And that of course involves retrofits, money, that kind of thing for facilities folks. So I think that these self-cleaning services that you offer really help to address or minimize or eliminate the need to go through those expensive retrofits that they might be worried about.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the average price of our products is $2 US. It's so comforting to know that, when I have these half dozen to a dozen video calls a week where people say, can you tell me a little bit more about what NanoSeptic is and what it isn't? It's really comforting to say, look, this is not a two-signature check, right? You don't need to spend $10,000. You don't need to spend $1,000. Frankly, you don't even need to spend $100 to be able to try the product out and see firsthand the impact that it's going to have on tenant experience. So being able to have a product that's affordable, we're very, very proud of. It took a long time, but we were able to achieve that. It's, again, something we're proud of, and we think that folks that may choose to use NanoSeptic, it's going to be easier for them to gain entry.
That's great. Thank you. Well, thank you, Dennis. I really appreciate your time and talking about this issue and sharing the information on your product. So thanks again. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Ann.
And for you listening, if you'd like to find out more about NanoSeptic self-cleaning services, please visit the company's website at nanoseptic.com. You'll find a lot of great information there, as well as Dennis's information and his team. And we thank you for listening.